During his latest appearance, the Braindead Millennial, a frequent flyer over at Yellow Cottage Tales, suggests that the O'Keefes should just cut out the middleman and hire a hitman instead. This and more in today's video.
Tell them. Tell them all.
Hello, 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 and welcome back, roommates, to another titillating edition of Alexa's bedroom, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, and we are not law enforcement. We are just people. People who have opinions about all things going on in the true crime community, including TikTok's answer to a vasectomy, the Boundless Millennial, now rebranded as Media Autopsy or the Dog Park. I don't know, but either way, it sounds like something out of Lindsay Gattani's search history right after Swirls and Girls. But so yesterday, during a live stream on Yellow Cottage Tales, the Braindead Millennial actually suggested that the O'Keefes hire a hitman, because apparently felony conspiracy gets you a better ROI than civil litigation.
The lawyer did a really good job explaining the case high level, and she looked a little uncomfortable. I just don't know like how he's explaining how long it's going to drag out. I'm like, are they really even going to get a benefit over time? How much are they paying for their lawyer? I mean, I think they should just hire a hitman, to be honest.
Like the saying goes, behind every gay, there's a slightly more unhinged gay. And the dog park is that. Norfolk County should really be taking notes, because this is what intimidation actually looks like. Not this.
So anyway, Jen, I have a question. Did you think that you could outsmart Karen Reed? Did you?
Now don't get it twisted. This ain't the first time this TikTok twink has suggested something bad should happen to Karen because he didn't get his way. Here's what he said after the not guilty verdicts came in, also during a live stream on Yellow Cottage Tales.
I know.
It's going to
I
get
hope Peg
worse.
runs her over with a car right now. That would be the perfect ending.
Sounds like a really nice young man. Definitely the kind of guy you want to introduce to mom and her third husband. Now, since then, apparently Plevin, or Kevin Linehan, who runs Yellow Cottage Tales, has taken down the stream on YouTube, but apparently not for the reasons you would think. So I don't know if he tweeted this at some point, or he replied in the comments section, or posted a community post on YouTube. I couldn't seem to find the original statement by Kevin about this, but apparently, according to Turtle Boy, he brings them receipts, has admitted that he deleted the stream he did last night from his YouTube channel because his regular guest, Matthew Doherty, aka Boundless Millennial, on TikTok, suggested that the O'Keefe family should hire a hitman to unalive Karen in order to avoid paying a lawyer to sue her. Karen is a material witness subject to deposition in her ongoing legal matters. Mr. Doherty last night made the suggestion that she should be unalived in order to interfere with and obstruct the current lawsuit. This is perhaps the most egregious form of witness intimidation possible, and if I were Karen Reed, I would be demanding he be charged immediately. And I would say Plevin, who claims to value civility, did nothing to admonish Mr. Doherty. He says he only took the video off of YouTube and not his other social media accounts because he didn't want to risk losing advertising revenue via demonetization. And here it is on Twitter, the entire 2.5-hour-long live stream. Plevin clearly doesn't care, because why else would you continue to platform this idiot? Like it's a residency at a sketch comedy club. I know there are a lot of people who are angry about Casey Anthony being found not guilty and who believe that she was responsible for the death of her daughter, Kaylee. I am one of those people. I believe that. Am I going to go on here and say, oh, it would be better if X happened to her, or someone should do X thing to Casey Anthony? No, because God forbid I say something and the wrong person hears what I'm saying and says, oh, Alexasrewm said that this thing should happen to this person. I must follow. I am her minion. Now, normally I don't like going after other creators for existing and voicing their opinions, even if I vehemently disagree with their opinions, just because they have a right. They have their own channel. They have their own platform. They're allowed to give their opinions, right? And I'm not a drama-driven channel. That's just not what I like to do. Probably because I'm a Libra. I don't like conflict. But when you're creating content, whether it's your own or you're being platformed by another creator, and you're saying something that's dangerous, irresponsible, and could inspire some bored lunatic who's locked up inside his mom's basement to act, that's not edgy. It's not funny. It's stupid, and it could get you legally in trouble. Just ask Charlie Adelson how well that joke age tested.
Did your brother joke about hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel?
He did make that joke.
And look, you're allowed to believe that Karen Reed is guilty until you're blue in the face, and you'll forever be factually wrong. But making violent threats, even if you think you're doing it in jest, and it's rich coming from a guy who had this take following Charlie Kirk's unaliving.
I think we should all have empathy. We should all look at each other as human beings. It is the one thing that separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom. And to deny that it exists, well, this is the result.
In my opinion, he seems to be the kind of dude who just likes to be controversial for the sake of being controversial. But again, I feel like as a creator, you have a responsibility in what you say to your audience. I just feel like people like that shouldn't have access to the internet at all, because they're what's feeding this mean machine of people and getting people all riled up and angry and ready to riot and burn things down and take matters into their own hand like vigilantism. And it's just, there's a reason why we have law and order. But I digress. Speaking of people who should get their Wi-Fi surgically removed, Lindsay Gattani and her blue check mark have been on a 24-hour towel-approved Twitter X bender. This just hours after her fill-in CPAP daddy, Robert Cosgrove, resigned as special prosecutor from her case. So this was tweeted out at 6:25 p.m. last night. Turtle Boy says, breaking news, Robert Cosgrove has officially resigned today from his role as special prosecutor in the Lindsay Gattani case after she sued Cosgrove and Brian Tully at the urging of Grant Smith Ellis. Special prosecutor Robert Novak also resigned after collecting $20,000 from the taxpayers. Ken Mello was booted off the case 2 weeks ago. So this guy, Robert Novak, who I believe was the prosecutor who arraigned Turtle Boy when he did that 60-day stint in jail, he just yeeted himself out of the chat because I guess, well, he's like, I don't want to be next. I got my $20K. I don't want to be next. And then 6 hours later at 12:53 a.m. this morning, Lindsay tweets out this: sorry for the delay of video number 2. What I can tell you right now is yes, the blogger slash YouTuber is likely having his charges dropped on 9/20. My advocate, Pamela Friedman, who I finally was able to reach at almost 9 p.m. tonight, informed me that she was busy with holiday today, but told me that Cosgrove was likely withdrawing due to conflict. She claims that no other prosecutor in the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office will likely take the cases because of Turtle Boy being involved. And probably for the same reason that no one in that office wanted to take on Karen Reed's retrial. I'm assuming. When pressed on if it will be transferred to another jurisdiction, she stated that they would likely have a hard time finding anyone from any jurisdiction to prosecute the blogger. More details to come. I know I'm the absolute worst when it comes to promising, hey, I'm going to post this video, and then the day comes and the video doesn't get posted. And it's usually because I'm either deep in scripting another video, editing, or trying to manage my day job, because I do have a day job. But this chick is just chilling on her bed with her Cricket wireless phone, talking like she's about to drop the Pentagon Papers, and she needs all this prep time to script it out and edit and do this and do that. How much time do you need, Lindsay, to just whip out your phone? Whip out the notes tab with a couple of talking points. This isn't Oppenheimer 2. Come on now. But that point aside, by her usage of quotes before and after the word conflict, I'm assuming she doesn't realize that the reason there's a conflict is because You created the conflict. And now this is likely going to get dropped, as you're inferring here, or as you were told, according to your advocate, Pamela Friedman, which means that the witness intimidation charges are likely also going to get dropped at some point down the line. You were like their star, baby, their star witness. Oh, what a mess they are in now. So then she goes, you people are not very smart. Firstly, all of Kate's moles on their sock accounts outing themselves this morning. Classic. Number 2, the conflict was created by your precious leader the second he decided to sue me. Cosgrove was always going to be deposed as a witness whether he was added as a third-party defendant or not, because he was the one, according to what Detective Haldeman told me, who handed over the SA report, which, by the way, are not public record and was still an active investigation, to Bradel during another discovery dump. SA reports are never public record, even if the investigation has been closed. It was not redacted in any way, shape, or form either. I couldn't even get a copy of my own report because of the law. So no, neither I or Grant Smith Ellis, who I don't know what he has to do with anything, created the conflict or got the charges dropped. Well, they haven't been dropped yet officially, so... But I mean, she is really going to bat for towel. So this is love. Girl, I mean, the only conflict here is between your frontal lobe and reality. You sued Bobby Cosgrove. How can he be like, yeah, okay, what you're saying is the truth and nothing but the truth, so help us all? But she's batshit crazy. And she's a liar. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Regardless, it seems as the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office never intended on seeing the charges with Carney through to the end. Anyway, however, were they ever going to explain why messages of Tully's and only the responses from Kate Peter were missing? All of my messages to her were still there after a certain date. So it's like, on one hand, she's like, screw Turtle Boy, and on the other hand, she's like, oh, it's Kate Peter and Tully and Bobby Cosgrove. pick a side. How were they ever going to explain why all the Google Drive links were deleted? They played both versions of the audio at the grand jury, so they should have both versions somewhere. And I believe, so this is the video that I believe it was insinuated Mike Crawford from the Young Jerks had sent an edited version of this specific video. And it turns out that this link to this item had been deleted. I mean, I just love how they're all kind of spiraling and pointing the finger at each other like that Spider-Man picture. But also ask yourself why all the ramblings about Kate Peter continued in letters, but neither Bradel or Betterow ever, I don't know why Betterow's in all caps, Betterow ever once asked for an evidentiary hearing with her. I mean, as far as I know, they've been asking for an evidentiary hearing from pretty much day one. And then it goes on, yeah, more about Kate Peters' hearings and Lauren Murray and yada yada. Speaking of all things damp and dirty, the towel, aka Grant Smith Ellis, got wrung out the other day as he got served this little love note. Grant Smith Ellis has been served to attend a deposition in my lawsuit, so Turtle Boy's lawsuit, against Lindsay Gattani. His mother, Wendy Murphy, accepted service. Grant must bring with him all the communications between him and the 2025 Ratchet Madness champion, 2 copies of all the social media posts he made about me, 3, any legal research and or writings provided to the defendant. If Grant deletes any communications or fails to provide all the help he gave the fake victim, he can be held in contempt, go straight to jail. It's time for the truth to come out. He said a rapture was coming, but I didn't know this was the one that they were talking about. But now, folks, for the piece de resistance, I bring you Lindsay's latest magnum opus of word salad, fresh off her 24-hour Twitter expender, at least at the time of this recording. When I began speaking to Kate, she said she thought I had information about Karen Reed and Turtle Boy's stuff that was very important. She told me she was going to run it by CPAP Daddy and just see what he thought. I was eventually given his number, and when I spoke with him, he asked if I would be willing to speak with his investigator. I told him I was nervous about getting involved, and he said, Lindsay, if you just speak to him, just have a conversation, tell him what you know. I gotta probably rasp it up a little bit. Then if you decide you don't want to move forward, you have my word. I will not force you to. I naively and stupidly believed that nonsense. Then he sent Brian Teletully to my home in December of 2023 with CPAP Daddy's PI, Nelson. What's his first name? Maybe it's just Nelson. There were some things that stood out to me. Tully's biggest concern was if I knew the target of the federal investigation. When I told him I had been told it was Morrissey, he and Nelson looked at each other at the exact same time, eyes widened, and slightly smiled as if they were relieved or satisfied. Why is this reading like a Jodi Picoult book? I had a conversation after they left and repeated this exact observation and discussed how I thought it was strange. Another strange thing is that my interview was not recorded like Natalie's. Why? Well, I mean, that's also what they do. They just don't like recording things, right? Also strange, why was Natalie allowed to hire a company to remove private information from her phone prior to her phone extraction? Also strange was the fact that Tully seemed very concerned about what I had heard about him, telling me something like, I'm sure you think all these things about me and probably hate me. It was odd because Tully didn't mean anything to me, period, at that point. I was indifferent and not sure why he would even care or mention that. He ended the interview by telling me that he thought I had some very helpful information and discussed me potentially testifying before a grand jury. I told him that CPAP Daddy said they were just there to have a conversation. No one said anything about a grand jury. He then brought up getting some of the information from my phone. He said it couldn't be given via printing the texts out. It had to be an extraction, even though apparently it was later okay for him to print out his own communication. When Brian Teletully showed up to my home the second time, this time unannounced, again with Columbo in tow, he first sat down and began to tell me about Carney's court date earlier that day. He bizarrely said, do you know that Mike Gianetti's girlfriend was sitting in the front row to support him? Why was he telling me who was or wasn't at the hearing anyway? He then asked me, so here it is, he then asked me if I had put any more thought into testifying. Remember, it was presented to me as if I had a choice in the beginning. I told him I wasn't going to testify or give my phone because it would just cause more problems in my life, and they already had all the same information I told them from Natalie. He said, we had a feeling you'd say that, and pulled out the subpoena. So what I'm getting from this, CPAP Daddy was like, just have a chat with this dude, this bald guy. His name's Brian Teletully. And I'm going to send over my PI Columbo. Great guys. Then she gets nervous because Teletully apparently is asking about the federal investigation and who's really investigating who and what and where and why. And this is making Lindsay nervous, which also, why would this make her nervous? And then after 2 visits, Teletully's like, hey, have you thought about testifying? Lindsay said, no, I don't want to testify. I'm not going to give you my phone. I'm not doing any of that. And Brian Teletully's like, well, you ain't getting no rose, but you're getting a subpoena anyway. This thing would have been way more interesting for me to read if I had taken a gummy before. They used her. Totally. And now she's pissed. And she's suing everybody. She's suing everybody. But she doesn't realize that in doing that, she's screwing herself up in the process. So I just like how she kind of makes it out to be like, oh, I never really wanted to be involved in any of this, when she's been main charactering herself throughout this entire saga. What do you guys think? I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Turtle Boy's got a hearing tomorrow. I believe it's at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll do a recap video as we do following that. The mega motion has been filed. It hasn't been docketed as far as I know, last I checked. I'm assuming it'll be the subject of discussion tomorrow during that hearing, so we shall see. But that being said, if you enjoyed today's content, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next video from me, and make sure you hit that like button, because that tells the YouTube algorithm that other people might want to watch this thing too. And if they do, that's great. And if they don't, we can all touch fake plants. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time.
Never heard so much self-indulgent whinging in all my life.